Who pledges themselves to a demigod in the lands between can tell us a lot about who that demigod is. Ranni has numerous vassals, and while Celavis is a snake lying in wait, E.G. shows himself to be a dedicated soul with his mistress's best interest at heart, and Blythe shows unshaking loyalty until the fingers themselves break him. Cleanrot Knight Finlay has the strength of will to carry Melania from Caelid to the Halig Tree, essentially across the entire lands between. The Redmanes show themselves to be fearless warriors with the courage to push back against the rot in their homeland, while Jaren puts his life on hold in order to make sure Radahn can have a proper death. So what of kindly Miquella? His forces at the Halig Tree seem to be cookie-cutter knights, with a bit more power behind their swings, and those that follow him into the Land of Shadow needed to be enchanted into coming along. Freya stays loyal due to Radahn's revival. Mor cares more for the Forager brood than anything else. Dryleaf Dane seems to side with Miquella due to religion, and his other followers join our cause in the end, except for Needle Knight Leda. Leda stays truly loyal to Miquella and Miquella alone, and is willing to kill her companions if she believes they are wavering. In fact, the murderous intent of this White Knight may be our best window into what Miquella has become in order to attain his goals. Today, we dissect the leader of Miquella's band of warriors, Needle Knight Leda, and try to understand what it meant to be an Oathseeker. Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of Elden Lore, our series diving into the people, places, and knights of the Lands Between and the Land of Shadow. We have over 150 episodes in this playlist, so if you're looking for the story of anyone in particular from Elden Ring, chances are we've covered it. But if we haven't, make sure to leave us a request. We also have a Discord where FromSoft fans come together to share their theories, builds, and love for the worlds created by these developers. If you end up enjoying this video, please consider subscribing to the channel, but no pressure. As always, your viewership is more than enough for us. With that said, let's begin this dissection into the psyche of the Needle Knight. The first time we heard Leda's voice was in the story trailer for Shadow of the Erdtree, and while she did give us the context we needed to better understand this land, we didn't learn anything about her specifically. We speak to her ourselves upon visiting Miquella's cocoon after defeating Luminary Mohg.
Were you guided here by kindly Miquella? I am Leda, and like you, I was guided by faith along his honorable path. Touch the withered arm, and you too will be transported to the realm of shadow where Miquella the Kind now dwells. My compatriots are there already. Like us, they have heard kindly Miquella's call. If you can find them, they are certain to lend you aid. Come now, touch the withered arm, and travel to the realm of shadow. I will not be far behind. May we meet again.
Leda makes it seem as if she too has only just answered Miquella's call, but that seems highly unlikely. It would make more sense if she simply waits by the cocoon for new followers, so that she can determine their worth. As we make our way through the beginning areas of the Land of Shadow, we can meet many of these compatriots Leda spoke of, but it's not until we get through Castle Ensis that Leda makes herself known to us again. We can choose to have her fight at our side against R'hllana, or simply speak with her after leaving the castle in order to learn more about our compatriots.
Hello again. Did you meet my compatriots? They're quite the congregation, from places as far and wide as you can imagine. Doubtless they'd have all come to blows at first glance, were it not for the charm kindly Miquella put upon us. This is what allows us to serve together, the work of a living god.
From here, Leda can give us information on both Hornsent and Dryleaf Dane, but she continues to stay tight-lipped about herself. In fact, we can learn nothing more from Needle Knight Leda until after Miquella's Great Rune is shattered. Upon making our way to the Shadow Keep, the Great Rune of kindly Miquella is destroyed, and his enchantments are undone. Every member of his merry band of followers will begin to show their true colors, and this is true of Leda as well.
Hello. Did you feel it? Miquella the Kind's enchantment appears to have broken. But while my devotion to kindly Miquella remains unchanged, by my troth I am not so sure about the others. No, wait. Perhaps this is a blessing in disguise. I can wield my sword to cull the undeserving, those unfit to bask in tender Miquella's presence. I should have thought of this earlier. Right. It's time to begin ferreting out those of us who don't deserve to be at kindly Miquella's side.
This is an alarming turn for the Needle Knight to take, immediately considering that her companions may want to stand in the way of her lord, and that it's her duty to put them to the sword before they can even try. If we suggest she look into Tiolier, she dismisses the idea due to a misunderstanding of just what Saint Trina is.
It's true. His devotion to St. Trina is plain to see. I fear his vows to Miquella the Kind are merely secondary. But for this very reason, Tiolier is incapable of betrayal. St. Trina's love for kind Miquella is boundless. She is, after all, his other half. Or perhaps her feelings go beyond even that. Even if she was left behind, I doubt her heart would waver.
As we who follow Tiolier's quest know, Leda's assertion about Trina's loyalty is wrong, perhaps revealing a flaw in her perspective, as she's able to temper her distrustful nature for an aspect of Miquella, believing it cannot possibly disagree with her lord. We are also able to suggest looking into horn scent, and this is where we begin to see Leda's lust for blood.
The horn scent. On one hand, he trusts Miquella the Kind to bring salvation to his people. With the enchantment lifted, his vengeful passions may once again ignite. But surely he'd be mindful of kindly Miquella's promise. On the other hand, the horn scent does present his own dangers. Perhaps your concerns are well-founded after all. Allow me some time to mull it over. There you are. It took me long enough, I know. But I've made my decision. I believe it wisest to eliminate the horn scent. If he were to point his blade at Sir Mesmer or Queen Marika, perhaps it would not matter. But vengeance changes a man. And one day, his blade may turn towards Miquella the Kind. Kindly Miquella is, after all, the true golden child. Even if he discards every last drop of his being, his lineage will always remain. I believe the horn scent suspects what I have in mind. He never placed his full trust in me, even under the effect of kindly Miquella's spell. He must have recognized something. The scent of the killer that slept within me, the stench of crusted blood. I will follow the horn scent. To have his revenge on Sir Mesmer, there is only one place he will go. The Black Keep.
Leda is correct, as once we reach Mesmer's chamber, we're able to summon horn scent to help us defeat the Impaler. But if we choose to do battle with horn scent alongside Leda, she'll speak with us again.
There you are. Well fought. You have my gratitude. He was never going to see eye to eye with us, but his words were ill-founded. It was hard to hear, I know. I know I shouldn't let myself, but I suppose it's only natural to feel the weight of one's deeds at times like these. There's plenty left to be done, and I will see to it.
Before discussing the next steps in this quest, I want to talk about the armor Needle Knight Leda wears, as it can give us some idea of her past. Aside from her chest armor, Leda wears the Oathseeker set, which tells us it is black with gold ornamentation. These knights set off on quests of discovery, hoping to find by themselves an oath of their own choosing to serve in perfect lifelong devotion. We can find this armor in the Church of Benediction, a place, it would seem, these knights start their journeys. A benediction is described as a short prayer or blessing that expresses good wishes or asks for divine help and guidance. So it would make sense that a church dedicated to this idea is where an Oathkeeper would start their journey. But it brings up an interesting question. Is Leda originally from the Land of Shadow? I don't believe this can be confirmed one way or the other, but due to the description of Leda's armor, it seems she must have known Miquella well before the Land of Shadow was locked away. Chest armor of Needle Knight Leda, embroidered with a golden cross-tree motif. The chalk-white cloak and surcoat symbolize the honor of the Needle Knights. Kindly Miquella fashioned us as his needles to quell all, to ward away all. Given this description, we can safely assume that Leda was not the only Needle Knight, and that they based themselves on the concept of Miquella's needle, which warded away the meddling of the outer gods. After defeating Hornsent, Leda rewards you with a talisman, the Lacerating Cross Tree, which tells us a little more about the Needle Knights. Handicraft depicting a golden cross tree, one of the items conferred to the Needle Knights. Long ago, the Needle Knights were in service of Miquella, but now there are no more, save for one. Leda is the last Needle Knight. Her sword holds the secret as to why this is. It tells us it is a light greatsword with gold inlaid. Weapon of Leda, the Needle Knight. Deals holy damage. Though polished to a mirror sheen, this blade still reeks with the stench of crusted blood that lingers from the cull of her knightly comrades. Leda murdered the rest of the Needle Knights, almost definitely because she saw them as wavering in their dedication to Miquella. After all, we know that none of Miquella's knights ever claimed the Miquella Knight's sword, and perhaps it was considered an ill-fated blade because those who could have claimed it were cut down by the most zealous of their order. With all this in mind, it suddenly becomes clear that Leda has no issue whatsoever putting those she is supposed to work alongside to the sword based on her own assertions. Perhaps this is why Miquella needed to put one of his own knights under his enchantment, to quell her murderous intent and have her safely work alongside others. Immediately after cutting down Hornsent, Leda is back to considering which of our companions is most likely to betray kindly Miquella.
Who else, I wonder? I don't enjoy casting suspicion on anyone I've called a comrade, but it's a small sacrifice in the grand scheme of things. We must eradicate all doubt. There you are. I'm afraid Sir Ansbach will have to be next. He insists that he's nothing but a worn-down over-the-hill soldier, but in his day, he was the feared commander of the pure-blood knights, who cleaved open Miquella the Kine with his blood blade. He claims he hasn't the spirit to take up his sword again, but I doubt it'll be very long before he recalls, as I have, the cascading sheets of blood. I'm afraid he cannot be left to fester. I've come to a realization. There's ample evidence. Without kindly Miquella's influence, I'm quite mistrustful of others.
The way she claims that without Miquella's influence she is mistrustful of others seems to imply that this is something Leda didn't know about herself. It's possible she's been under Miquella's enchantment so long that she has little, if any, recognition of her life before. If she truly did murder the rest of the Needle Knights, then it's possible Miquella enchanted her to make her stop and follow his orders as he intended, rather than as she interpreted them. Given this line, we can assume she doesn't even remember the heinous acts she's committed. Either that, or those memories have yet to surface since the enchantment was broken. Either way, we're given another choice: to help her kill the Honorable Sir Ansbach, or defend him against the Needle Knight. Should we help Leda kill Ansbach, she gives us the retaliatory cross-tree talisman and says,
There you are. I appreciate the help in battle. Sir Ansbach must have considered it an honourable end, being felled by your hand. After all, the good fellow held you in the highest regard. When we speak of it, we may speak with pride. that we were Sir Ansbach's final adversaries. You are an odd one, aren't you? The enchantment is broken, and yet you alone appear completely unchanged, as if nothing was ever cast upon you. No matter. If you found your way here, it was because kindly Miquella wished it so. But I am afraid this is our farewell. When next we meet, let it be under the eyes of Miquella the Kind. Goodbye, comrade.
While she calls us comrade, she seems to finally understand that we were never under Miquella's spell. And we know how Leda treats her comrades if she detects even the slightest whiff of treason against kindly Miquella. From this point on, we cannot encounter Leda again until we reach the cleansing chamber of Enir Alim. Upon following the letters left to us by Ansbach, Dane, and Leda, we make our way to the Church of the Bud, and use Mesmer's flame to burn the sealing tree obscuring Enir Alim. We explore this ancient divine structure as we make our way to the peak, where the Gate of Divinity and Miquella await us. However, after we fight our way through to the last chamber before the top of the tower, Needle Knight Leda stands before us, blocking our way.
I thought I'd see you here. It'd been quite some time. It was never kindly Miquella, was it? The Erdtree was leading you all along, so that you might ascend to lordship. Why come to these lands to begin with? I suppose it must be what His Eminence, or perhaps the Erdtree, desired all along. The clashing of the favored lords, such that one would prevail. So be it. If you insist upon facing Miquella the Kind, then I will run you through whoever you might be. Don't tarry now.
Depending on who we've killed or brought over to our side of the battle, we will face off against a number of foes, but it will always include both Leda and Dryleaf Dane, the two followers of kindly Miquella, who cannot be swayed to see the error of their lord's ways. Leda will chastise herself for ever acting as our compatriot, and begin trying to put us to death with the many needles produced by her sword. Upon defeating her, she says, "Kindly Miquella, make the world a gentler place." This is where the Needle Knight meets her end, so that we may ascend to the gate and face Miquella and his promised consort, so that we may determine the new order that shall take hold of the lands between. Needle Knight Leda was a knight who believed the path to peace was paved in bloodshed, not only of her enemies, but of those who would question the intentions of her lord. Her final words to us make it clear that she always wanted to see Miquella's dream of a gentler world come to fruition, but it stands to reason that by its very definition, she should have no place in that world. Leda was always a deeply bloodthirsty warrior, and a Lands Between under the guidance of Miquella may have been the only way for her to calm her sword hand. Miquella's enchantment was the only thing that stood between Leda and the death of her companions. She cut down the other Needle Knights, leaving herself the last remaining member of their order, forcing her own lord's hand to enchant her. Leda, though her appearance was that of a gentle woman, was a monster without Miquella's power, bottling up her murderous intent. In this case, the white of her cloak should not denote pure intention, but instead would serve to amplify the appearance of the blood she spilled. While we can choose to help the Needle Knight ferret out those who would betray her lord, she makes it all too clear that we should not put any stock in our status as comrades in arms. We know from the start that we are not under Miquella's enchantment, and as she reveals her true self to us throughout Shadow of the Erdtree, it should become apparent that this fact would always lead to a final confrontation with the Needle Knight. After all, if Leda can't trust those who were enchanted alongside her, what chance did we have of her trusting us, even if we helped her weed out possible pockets of future insurrection against kindly Miquella and the world he and Leda wished to create? Thank you for joining us for our dissection of Needle Knight Leda, the leader of those enchanted by Miquella. What do you think of our analysis of this bloodthirsty warrior clad in white? Did Leda murder the rest of the Needle Knights for some perceived treason? Did Miquella enchant her because there was no other way to make this knight play well with others? After defeating her, did you take up Leda's sword and use Miquella's needles to cut down those who stood in the way of your ascension? Let us know your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell, and set notifications to all so you never miss out on any of our lore dives. We look forward to seeing you again for more Elden Lore.